All right, we'll call to order the February 24th City of Minneapolis Planning Commission hearing. My name is Sam Rockwell. I serve as president of the commission. I'm joined today by Commissioners Meyer, Lipke-Peer, Schrader, Olson, and Caprini. Our first order of business is to approve the minutes from the February 10th, 2020 Planning Commission meeting, the actions. Do I have a motion? Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve the February 10th regular meeting actions. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, we'll take up the consent agenda from our committee of the whole meeting. Commissioner Lipke-Peer.
Thank you, President Rockwell. Yes, we had found that a land sale of 2122 Ilion Avenue North is consistent with the Minneapolis Plan for Sustainable Growth.
Very good. I'll take that as a motion to approve that committee of the whole consent agenda. Do I have a second? We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next order of business is to organize the agenda for this hearing. For those of you here, we'll walk through the agenda. If you're here to testify against staff recommendation or to modify staff recommendation on an item, please let us know when we go through that, when we walk through that agenda item. Otherwise, we will place items on the consent agenda and vote on them as a block. The first item on our agenda is item number 5, 1800 Chicago Avenue in Ward 6, and that is a preliminary and final plat. Is anyone here to speak on item number 5? Seeing no one, will place item number 5 on consent. Item number 6 is the Holland Arts Building change of use, non-conforming use application there. Is anyone here to speak on item number 6? Seeing no one, will place item number 6 on consent. Item number 7 is Medina Mall, 2815, 2817, 2821, 2825, and 2833 13th Avenue South in Ward 9, a rezoning and conditional use permit for use there. Is anyone here to speak on item number 7? We have one person on item number 7. We'll place item number 7 on our discussion agenda. And item number 8 is the vision loss resource redevelopment at 1936 Lindale Avenue South in Ward 10. Is anyone here to speak on that? We have one person to speak on item number 8. So our agenda as amended is that we will discuss items number 7 and 8, and items number 5 and 6 are on the consent agenda. Commissioners, could I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended? I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as amended. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, could I have next I'll open the public hearing on the consent agenda on items 5 and 6. Is anyone here to speak in favor of those items? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing on the consent agenda. Commissioners, do we have a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda? A motion and a second to approve the items on the consent agenda. All in favor say aye. Motion carries. All right, moving on to our discussion agenda. First up is item number 7, Medina Mall, and mailing is staff.
Hi.
The floor is yours.
Good evening, President Rockwell and commissioners. So this is a very irregular site, and actually the zoning map hasn't been updated to reflect a recent change in parcels. So you'll see that there's an L-shaped alley, and that that portion of the parcel that is north of the alley has actually been split off administratively. So that was done prior to this land use application coming in for the rezoning. And one of the implications of that is that rezoning signatures were not needed for this. So the applicant is applying to rezone the property from I-1 to C2. That would allow a shopping center to go into the existing building. There's also an existing daycare facility that would still be permitted under the new zoning classification. Here's what the site looks like. It's right next to the green, just directly north of the Greenway. This is a survey showing kind of where that That split off parcel that's under parcel B, so that's no longer part of the zoning lot, but the survey shows you that there is an existing building there, and also 2 surface parking lots, one at the top and then one off of 14th to the east. This is, north is pointing to the left in this case, but the applicant is proposing to restripe. They'd have more than enough parking for the proposed uses on the interior of the building. This is what their striping plan is for the east parking lot. They're showing that, right now it's just kind of like a not striped loading area, but they would add some landscaping along there. And then we have some floor plans showing the location of the shopping center. Staff has asked for clarification on the exact uses within the shopping center, because right now it's just saying display room, and there's some coffee shops and restaurants, but we'd like additional detail prior to the approval of the permit if this gets approved. I'll just show you some of the pictures. So this is the view from 13th Street. And here you can see the view from the east on 14th Street, where that loading area is. And I'll just go back to the zoning map. So I will kind of rest there. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Commissioners, are there any questions of staff? Thank you very much. I'll open the public hearing and ask the applicant to come forward and introduce themselves, add anything else they wish to add. Is the applicant here, Mei-Ling?
The applicant isn't. I'm sort of representing some of the people.
Very good. That'll have to do.
Jeff McElmurray is my name. And I was kind of, I'm a designer, and I was in the project early on, and I did all of the food places in there. There's 3 coffee shops, 2 restaurants, and a halal market. The rest of it would be just little shops, dress shops, or money transfer, or whatever else little shops would go in there. But what my original function was to do all of the food type places in there. Just about all of those food places have an exterior door directly into the place, which is why we're trying to get this whole thing kind of put to bed. That original design that I did for the very first coffee shop was at the very end of 2013. So we've been playing with this thing for a very long time. But in order to really utilize and bring everything up to kind of a lawful shopping center, is why we have to rezone it for a shopping center. Nowadays, why those light industrial uses are kind of gone by the boards. Most of that light industrial work is done in China these days, so there's very little need for it. Even the railroad is now the Greenway. And so, anyway, if you have any other questions, why? Like I say, I'm sort of representing, the owner is out of town.
Very good.
At the mall, so, and the architect is DJR, and I'm kind of representing them a little bit too, so.
Perfect. Commissioners, are there any questions for the applicant's representative? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Okay.
We'll open the public hearing for anyone else who wishes to testify. Please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Hello, my name's Andrea Corral. I live at 2823 14th Avenue South, so I'm in the 350 feet zone of the shopping mall. So I guess I have a question first before we even get started, is that if you guys are aware that in 2007 and then again in 2010 that the city council approved the Midtown Greenway development plan, where it stated in that development that any changes made to anything along the Greenway was supposed to go from I-1 to residential. And then with the 2040 plan, I'm assuming that people want more residential in there. So I don't understand why this is even up for consideration when the 2010 the city council stated that it was supposed to be changed to R2 and R4 in that area. I have it here if you want it. So I guess that's my first question, is why is this even up for debate? So in 2014, they brought it before the Midtown neighborhood association. They did not have support for it at that time. I'm kind of the voice of my 2 blocks. There's no main streets that access the property. So anytime anybody is going in and out of that property, they have to go on residential, 100% residential streets. So I guess we are all voicing our opinion that, so I have signatures. I emailed to Mei Ling, I believe her name is. So I emailed copies of the signatures to her from 2 block radius, some from 2014, and then my main people in the 350 feet area, that we are all 100% opposed to this just because of the traffic issues, that it's people driving in and out of residential streets. Plus, on top of that, is that the 2010 agreement was supposed to be changed to residential. So Mei-Ling has the original signatures, and I can provide the original.
We all have copies of those.
Okay.
So,
That's all I have to say.
very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
If I could ask staff to just walk through how the 2040 plan kind of influences the staff recommendation here, and how that relates then to any previous plans.
Sure. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
that question. And it's a really good question. This doesn't show you the comprehensive plan policy future land use map, but the larger parcel that contains the existing building, that's guided for neighborhood mixed use. And in the staff report, we kind of outline what the policy is for that, and comment on it. And our comment is that the commercial zoning would be consistent with this future land use guidance. This category includes individual commercial uses, small collections of commercial uses, primarily away from major streets, and that should continue to serve their existing function. Commercial zoning is appropriate. The cluster of parcels that are more mid-block, those are guided for urban neighborhood, but still commercial is not allowed under urban neighborhood. So it's predominantly for a residential area with a range of allowed building types that includes small-scale institutional and semi-public uses. Like the neighborhood mixed-use category, commercial uses can continue serving their existing commercial function. Commercial zoning is appropriate for these properties, while expansion of commercial uses and zoning into surrounding areas is not encouraged. And so this would not represent an expansion of existing commercial uses. This has been commercial historically, or industrial, in fact. So this would actually have some less intense uses than is otherwise allowed under the current I-1 zoning. So yeah, like I said, that daycare facility has been there. The Midtown Greenway plan, that has been kind of absorbed into the 2040 plan. So when they adopted the 2040 plan, they were looking at all of the pre-existing small area plan policies and tried to incorporate that into their final land use and built form recommendations. So we are looking to the 2040 plan for those recommendations, and we found that it would be consistent. This recommendation would be consistent with the 2040 plan. I'm not sure if there's anything else to say about that.
That's great.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Is there anyone else looking to testify on this item? Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing. Commissioners, we have a rezoning and a conditional use permit to allow shopping center before us. Is there any further discussion, further questions of staff, or would someone like to start us off with a motion? Commissioner Wilson.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the rezoning.
We have a motion to approve the rezoning. Is there a second? We have a motion and a second to approve the rezoning. Is there any discussion? I'll say just briefly, looking through the staff report and Mailing did a good job of summarizing what's in that report. The 2040 plan has made changes to what our land use guidance was, 10, 15 years ago. And And so there is a search for, greater residential densities, but also a real philosophy of creating kind of complete neighborhoods, walkable neighborhoods, which include a mix of residential and commercial kind of throughout the city of Minneapolis. And so it's not inconsistent, as Manling pointed out, it's not inconsistent to have this kind of use, particularly in a longstanding building and arena like this, exist in these neighborhoods. And so I think that a rezoning, given our policy guidance, which is supposed to guide our zoning code, which we're bringing up to date now, this does make sense. Any further discussion? Seeing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Caprini.
Aye.
Lipke-Peer.
Aye.
Meyer.
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
Schrader.
Aye.
5-0.
That motion carries. Commissioners, we have a conditional use permit before us. Commissioner Olson.
I'll make a motion to approve the conditional use permit with the 6 stated conditions.
We have a motion to approve the conditional use permit with these 6 stated conditions. Is there a second? We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Caprini.
Aye.
Lipke-Peer.
Aye.
Meyer.
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
Schrader.
Aye.
5-0.
That motion carries, and that concludes our business with item number 7. Our next up is item number 8, 1936 Lindale Avenue South, and staff is Aaron Hanauer.
Good afternoon, Chair and Commissioners. CPED is supportive of the applications to allow for the redevelopment of the Vision Last Resource 2-acre site at Franklin and Lindale Avenue. An aerial shot with Franklin, Lindale, Hennepin, and the bike bridge right there. 242 units, 6,500 square feet of ground floor commercial along Lindale Avenue. It's measured at 8 stories and 93 feet in height, and in large part that taller building is because of the 20-foot grade difference that exists on the site. Also, the applicant has, I'll just note, the applicant has broken the building into 2 different massings with different cladding to help the building relate to the neighboring surrounding and bring that building down in size to to that height. I also just want to note the project is within the Transit 10 land use, future land use, and we encourage the applicant to go bigger than what they did with this proposal. From a parking standpoint, they have nearly a 1-to-1 ratio from 1 parking space to every unit, 238 units, 242 parking spaces, and the traffic demand management plan does not anticipate the development having an adverse impact on traffic in the area. In the addendum packet, we have minor alterations that the applicant wanted the commission and to know that there's slight modifications. We all consider those to be minor alterations, but we wanted to be upfront what those changes are. In the public comments section of the addendum packet, there's 3 residents that voiced concerns with traffic and height, but the neighborhood did write a letter of support for the applications. And I know that the applicant's supportive of the conditions of approval that are listed at the back of the staff report.
Very good. Commissioners, are there any questions for staff? No, thank you very much. I'll open the public hearing and ask the applicant to come forward, introduce yourself, and add anything else you wish to add.
Hi there, I'm Travis Norgard with LMC representing the applicant on this project. Just one quick clarification. I think we're 242 apartment homes. Just want to make sure that we get that straight for the record. But here for answer any questions you might have. We're here with our architecture team, so ready for any of your questions.
Commissioners, are there any questions for the applicant? Commissioner Olson, is that a residual? Residual. All right. Any questions for the applicant? Seeing none, thank you very much. I'll ask anybody else wishing to testify to please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Hello, my name is Walker Reese, living at 1117 West 26th Street in Minneapolis. I'm the chair of the Zoning and Planning Committee of the Lowry Hill East Neighborhood Association, and just wanted to sort of speak very briefly elaborate on the letter of support we wrote. The board is in favor of all of the conditional use permit and the 2 non-withdrawn variances. And we conducted a survey in which 42 people responded. The positive aspects of it were the bringing the additional housing units to the neighborhood and the development of retail space along that corridor where it's currently just sort of a blank building. The negatives were the lack of affordable housing and, as staff mentioned, the potential concerns with bringing roughly potentially 250 cars into the neighborhood. Although similarly, the board is generally favorable to this project. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else wishing to testify? Yes, please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Hi, Laura Chamberlain, 440 Ridgewood Avenue, about a block and a half west or east of the property. I'm here just as a resident to give my support for this project. In particular, glad to see more opportunities for residential development in such a great neighborhood with access to transit, jobs, parks, grocery stores, as well as close to museums and the arts. In particular, on the site, the widened sidewalks along Lyndale South and Franklin West will make pedestrian connections easier within the area. I know that within the staff report, they mentioned working with Metro Transit on transit shelters. That is something I think that is desperately needed at that corner. And I would like to encourage the city, in whatever capacity you have, that especially during construction, to work with the county, as this is an opportunity to make a temporary alignment of the intersection at Franklin and Lyndale, which is right now kind of a mess and pretty dangerous for almost all users, to encourage especially any lane closures during construction, that promote the most vulnerable users, pedestrians and bicyclists first. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else wishing to testify on this item? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Commissioners, we have a number of applications before us. Conditional use permit, 3 variances, and site plan review. Is there any further questions of staff, any discussion, or would somebody like to start us off with a motion? Commissioner Olson.
I'll make a motion to approve the conditional use permit.
Motion to approve conditional use permit, item 1, presumably with a staff stated condition.
Yes.
With the staff stated condition, do we have a second? A motion and a second to approve item A, the conditional use permit. Any discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Caprini?
Aye.
Lipke-Pier?
Aye.
Meyer?
Aye.
Olson?
Aye.
Schrader?
Aye.
5-0.
That motion passes. Sir. Commissioner Olson.
I'll make a motion to approve variances B and C
And withdrawal item.
and withdraw variance D.
Very good. We have a motion to approve items B and C and withdraw variance D per staff report. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Caprini?
Aye.
Lipke-Pier?
Aye.
Meyer?
Aye.
Olson?
Aye.
Schrader?
Aye.
5-0.
Commissioner Olson.
I'll make a motion to approve the site plan review with the 6 stated conditions.
Do we have a second? Motion and a second to approve site plan review with 6 stated conditions. Is there any discussion? I'll just say, this site sits right at the junction of 2 of our high-frequency transit lines, which I think is exactly where we want high-density development. And it is really a site filled with a lot of surface parking and blank walls right now that is at really a gateway place in the city, both from people arriving kind of into South Minneapolis or into downtown on all sorts of transportation modes, from bicycles, so there's a bicycle bridge right there, to the highway, to pedestrians, to bus. And so I am happy to see this site developing and how this development is accentuating and aiding all of those various modes of travel. And so I think this is a great location, and this is kind of the hoped for progress that our city makes. With that, clerk, please call the roll.
Caprini.
Aye.
Libke-Pier.
Aye.
Meyer.
Aye.
Olson. Aye. Schrader. Aye. Sweezy's absent. 5-0.
That motion carries, and that concludes our business with item 8 and all of our actions for today. Kimberly, are there any staff updates?
Yes. So the first staff update is we did receive an appeal of the art and architecture project that was heard at our last meeting. So that will go forward to the Zoning and Planning Committee meeting on March 5th. And then we did have a public hearing at the previous ZNP meeting for the 3 new appointees for Planning Commission. That will be considered by the full council this Friday. We have some training scheduled, and hopefully those new commissioners will be on board for our March 9th meeting.
Very good. Seeing no other announcements, meeting adjourned.